Well, my clock says it is 7 o'clock, so we will get started. Welcome to the May 2025 Lake George School Board meeting. We are mostly present. We have a couple board members who could not be here tonight. Rosemary Earl and Donna Prime are not with us tonight, but we do have a quorum with the other 5 of us here. So we will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the States of America, to the republic that stands one nation.
So the next item on the agenda is our elementary update with Mr. Jim Conway, our elementary school principal. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, everybody. Going first is really different. That is very different. Don't blow up. All right. So no, since the last time we met, so much has happened, and it becomes the same thing as at the PTSO meeting the other night. It's like, well, what do you share? I'll try to keep it brief, but there's a lot. Over the past month, we completed all of our New York State testing. All of our makeups were finished today, and it went really well. We are totally computer-based now, much to my dismay. And in classic form, New York State didn't have their act together, but we survived that first day. And then the second day, and then it all worked out. So all good. And our kids, as you know, are very well prepared to do their best. We've held our kindergarten and pre-K roundups. Again, went very well. We've got a wonderful group of students and families that are going to be joining us in September. And we've had a great relationship with Bolton Central School for many years. We allow their kids to come to our Jumpstart summer program. And when they have spots, they allow us to take spots in their pre-K. This year, I was really shocked because they shared they had 6 openings. So while we had students that were on our wait list for pre-K, we were able to make available 6 slots in Bolton, and 3 people so far have jumped on that offer. So our needs are being met, certainly, with those families. Archo open house on the 20th, big day, certainly, but our building looks amazing. So please make sure that when you're there, you go through and take a look at the artwork. And I've shared this with folks that Allison Lauren has returned this year and has been healthy and teaching our kids all year. And there is a big difference that you'll see in the artwork that's up throughout the building. Spring concert this Thursday, 7 p.m. And as always, I'm really proud of our students and their musical talents. Tommy Sokoloff and Mallory Meyer have done a tremendous job moving the kids forward. So it will be a great show. June 3rd, regional spelling bee for our students in grades 4 through 8. We have 1 student from the junior, senior high, 1 from the elementary. Thank you, Mr. Luthringer, for serving. And I think he's probably the only superintendent out of 31 schools in the BOCES that serves as a judge. But thank you for doing that. American Young Voices, like music, I could go on and on with everything that's going on in music with NISMA and whatnot. But on June 2nd, we have approximately 25 5th and 6th grade students that are participating in the American Young Voices program at MVP Arena, which is pretty exciting. They go down and they sing with a couple thousand kids from around the Capital District, and it's a great experience for them. June 18th, our Leadership Day. Hopefully you received your invitation from one of our students. Please get back to them and let them know if you're able to attend. I know that they're excited to invite you, and you'll be one of a number of dignitaries that are there that day. The exciting thing that's happening this year is Grace Ann Bennett is going to Zoom call in, and she's going to be our guest speaker. And I met with Grace Ann, and she didn't know if she was going to be here or if she was going to be down south, and she will be down south, but she's excited to share a great message and talk about someone who is a great leader, someone who, and we really work on Habit 8, Find Your Voice, and that's what we celebrate in this leadership event. She's someone who's found her voice through basketball and promoting opportunities for girls and women in sport. And she'll deliver that message in a great way, I'm sure. A couple of other things, and then I'll turn things over to Mr. C. We have a couple of field trips that are going on over the next month. We have lots of field trips going on, but we have a couple that our students made happen. We have students on our Lighthouse team that somehow figured out how to get all of our third, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders going to Adirondack Extreme. They did all the work and they made that happen. And we thank Adirondack Extreme for working with our students and providing this opportunity for our kids. Jerry Plata, author visit on June 2nd. The Who Would Win books, I don't know if you're familiar with those, like Whale versus Squid, Wasp versus Hornet, et cetera, et cetera. Great author. And Mrs. Crossman is bringing him in for our students. Last two things. Flag Day on June 13th. We'll be sending you an invite, 8:15 on the 13th, out in front of the building. And then the 25th, just a reminder, that is our moving up ceremony and our bubble exit, if you want to be there for that, at 11 o'clock, watching our kids leave under all of the bubbles, walking out under the awning. I think that's all I've got.
Jim, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always
You're welcome.
exciting to hear what's going on. And unfortunately, there's so much going on. I have a conflict. I can't see the music on Thursday, but I got a very professional email inviting me to the leadership
Nice.
program on Friday. I was very impressed, and I was assured that I was a guest and I did not have to speak. That which was so cute in the email. I really appreciate that little that piece. And thank you for sharing the example. I think so many folks in the district do a wonderful job with regional partnerships.
Mhm.
And helping each other, and that example of the pre-K and the summer program, how we have created that relationship and partnership, and that's one example of many that we could give. So thank you for
Welcome.
being part of that. Does anybody have any questions for Jim? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
The next item on the agenda is our secondary update with Mr. Frank Acosa, our junior senior high school principal.
I know Jim forgot Randy's Rum and Murphy's Miles this Saturday because he's going to lose. There's a lot going on at the junior senior high school. So Wednesday, actually, May 21st is Senior Give Back Day. And these are the organizations that our seniors will be descending upon on Wednesday for the day. The Ben Osborne Foundation, the Caldwell Public Village Library, Lake George Island cleanup. We actually have 2 boats and take a crew out to 2 islands to clean up some of the campsites. Lake George Rotary Corner at Exit 21, roadside cleanup along village streets, Sacred Heart Food Pantry. St. James Church needs outside work around their grounds. The Village of Lake George has a community garden that needs help for the upcoming growing season, and the Warren Center, the nursing home at Exit 20. So our students, actually, our seniors, 56 seniors, last week chose the locations that they would like to go to. They have to prioritize 1, 2, and 3. We try to honor their first choice, but many of these locations can only take a few students. So then we'll go to their second choice and third choice. So that is next Wednesday, May 21st, and John Luthringer is going to take a group. He has annually taken a group of seniors with the Lake George Rotary. He's mulching. Next weekend, Quiz Bowl will be going to nationals in New Orleans, so we wish our Quiz Bowl students the best of luck as they compete at the national level. Band and chorus next weekend as well, Saturday the 24th. We'll open the annual Memorial Day Village ceremony at Shepherd Park. It's at 12 noon, so we hope you can join in the village and the town as we honor our veterans, along with the high school supporting that ceremony. And you'll begin to hear a lot about the class of 2025 in the next few weeks as we honor the graduating class through a lot of events that will be coming, culminating with commencement. And finally, I'm just so pleased with John and Megan, Bonnie and Jim and I, with the new employees that this meeting and next meeting that hopefully we'll be appointing. It's been a rigorous process. It's been a thorough process, and the bright future of Lake George schools rests in their hands. And we are so excited for the new employees of our district. So thank you.
Thank you for all that work to get us to that point. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent report with Mr. John Luthringer, our superintendent.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I couldn't have said it any better. We're so excited about having several of our candidates, 3 plus 1 online today. So we're really excited to introduce them, and it truly was a rigorous process. And we're excited to have our new candidates start soon. So we'll see that later on the agenda. And I am excited for Senior Give Back Day, and I enjoy that very much. And I think the kids, the word's getting out that after we do all our work, I take them across the street to the gas station and get them a treat of their choice. So right across the street there, the mart, the mini mart there. So it's been hot the last several years doing the mulching and the work. So we are nice and dirty and sweaty. So we go over and get an ice cream treat while before we go down for lunch. So it is a great day, and we give back, and the students do a great job giving back to our community, and a lot of great initiatives as Fran indicated. Tonight, I do have a few slides here because there's definitely some things I want to bring the board, bring some awareness to. So we'll just dive right in here. One of the things that we're really excited about, just to kind of reiterate, the student board member process. That's been really a year-long effort by collaboration between the Board of Education and the school district, and working together to develop a really great process, a collaborative process, one that we're really excited about to bring into the fold 2 co-representatives, student board members, starting really this summer. So just as a reminder, the process here that we developed was open to all 9th through 11th grade students, that rising 10 to 12th. We have 2 co-representative positions. It's a 1-year term. The election timeline annual elections are held in May. Those actually occurred on May 7th. And that process was a building-wide election through a ballot. So we are really excited to share that through that election process, Annie Fish and Elizabeth Pape, who goes by Libby, were elected as student board members. So you can see Annie on the left there and Libby on the right. They were elected last year by the student body, and they will be our co-representatives and our pioneering inaugural student board members for next year. So we're really excited about it. The 2 students had to go through, again, a process to indicate their desire and their goals of joining the board. They had to fill out an application. They had to get a teacher to write a recommendation, and then certainly those were reviewed by Ms. Koza and the student council teacher advisor, Katie Canale, and we looked at all of those, and we did have 3 applicants, and we did have those 2 get the most votes. So we're really excited to bring them on board. They will be here at the June board meeting. We're hopeful, barring any sort of unforeseen circumstances, but we did invite them to the June board meeting. Well, there'll be a resolution that the board will vote on. Katie.
John, the process that we landed on, we had quite a few choices of how we could have had our student board members come to us. And it was a very great example of shared decision-making in our district. And the high school forum did a lot of work. It was really many, many months. We started in the fall and landed on the process that we have, and districts do it different ways. And I think we as a board are excited that we, landed on the election process and really had a lot of great information from our forum, which is our high school shared decision-making body. So thank you to that work, because it's all nice and tight in these 2 slides, but there was a lot of work that went into it. So thank you, John, for helping with that.
No, thank you. Certainly a lot of great work this year, and more to come. So some of the next steps here that kind of just wanted to outline a little bit, as we talked about, there'll be a resolution in the June board meeting. We will look over the next few weeks, finalize the student board member onboarding process. So as you indicated, Katie, as part of this work, the board development committee has been working hard on a student board member handbook, kind of outlining the ins and outs of the position and expectations. And then we know as part of that, there'll be a board mentor as well. I'll be meeting with the students regularly, and Ms. Koza as well, as we help to prepare them for next year. So June and August, those few months, we'll begin the onboarding process, training and mentoring begin, and then we'd like them to start August 12th as their first board meeting with student board members. So we look forward to this process and really getting going. Any questions on this before I go to the next topics? So as I shared, we finally have a state budget that's been approved. So I just wanted to very quickly go through some of the highlights. There's more to this, but some of the highlights here, and my reasoning to share this not only is because it's relevant to Lake George, but Many of these items here have been a significant part of our advocacy work over the years. And finally, we have had some movement at the state level. So not only from the board level, your advocacy and the work that's, the resolutions that are approved each year, but then, trusting myself and the region to go down and really advocate with our legislators and spend time with them to talk about the importance of these issues. And we finally have seen some movement here. So starting with number one, full funding of foundation aid. We did not have the crisis that we had last year. Actually, there was a slight increase in foundation aid. So 2% minimum increase for all districts. So we had our foundation aid stayed the same because we're safe, harmless, a safe, harmless school, but we had a slight 2% increase, which was approximately a $35,000 increase in our aid, which we'll always appreciate, certainly. There were some changes to the foundation aid formula regarding how student poverty and different need factors are calculated. Those are recommendations directly from the Rockefeller report. It remains to be seen how much they will do over time, but they've started to make some slight changes that are in line with more of a current census scale. So we'll see where that goes. But that was encouraging as well that they're listening and taking some of the advice from the Rockefeller report. The universal free school breakfast and lunch. We haven't received really any guidance of this. As a reminder, Lake George, we are under the community eligibility provision, CEP, so our students do already receive free school breakfast and lunch, but there's a commitment to that now. So this speaks to that. As part of the budget, there is, for all school districts, universal free school breakfast and lunch. So that's just a great thing for our students to certainly have a hot meal each and every day. This was one of the piece that we were very excited about. This has been an advocacy piece for the better part of 20 plus years, really to increase that BOCES aidable salary cap. So it's been capped for $30,000 reimbursement to school districts. And that salary is just completely outdated. So we've been advocating to at least raise it to 60,000. They are going to phase it in over the next 3 years. It will be at 60,000 at the 2028-29 school year, but next year it'll be 40, 50, and then it will go to 60. So what this does is really allows more kids access to CTE programs. That's really what this is about. It allows districts to have flexibility and an increase in funding to have students have experiences that schools can't quite offer. We're really a strong proponent of CTE, as the board knows, and certainly something like this will allow our students to have more access to our programming, our wonderful programming that the WSWHE BOCES provides. There were some reforms, a zero-emission bus transition, a couple small items here. Well, and I wouldn't say small. This is an important one, but it does give an additional 24 months extension beyond the 2027 deadline. So that already existed. So they've added another 24 months. So you can go out 48 months total if you're really having some hardships. There's going to be a process for that we'll know more about. And the other one is that there'll be a third-party battery range estimate process. So for example, we get battery range estimates from our manufacturer. So now they're saying a third party has to assess the bus and also provide their range estimate for batteries, the battery life of a bus. So another kind of oversight to ensure that the battery life is what it says it is. So we'll see where that goes. And then the last one here, which we're going to spend a little bit more time on, is the bell-to-bell ban on the student use of internet-enabled devices. There are some exceptions. So that was also in the budget. It was passed by the legislator. It is a law in New York State. So as we've seen with laws in New York State, typically the process is a law is established through the legislative body. And then New York State Education Department will provide guidance to school districts, and then there is some deadline that we have to reach. So I wanted to spend a few minutes. I have a few slides on this because this is a really relevant and important topic that we'll be navigating here in Lake George, along with really all schools in New York State. So I'm going to, and please stop me for any questions that you might have. I may not have all the answers, but I at least want to share what we have at this point. So moving forward here, the bill is really called Use of Internet-Enabled Devices. It's legislation. that I mentioned, the legislator passed the bill, and basically it bans the use of internet-enabled personnel devices throughout the entire school day and on all school campuses. We are not alone. There's actually 21 states that have enacted laws or policies in K-12 classrooms or school cell phone usage. 15 of those states have been outright bans. Florida was actually one of the first states, and then there's a series of other ones that have come along over the last couple of years. So we're not alone. This is something that obviously that the governor has been passionate about, and certainly a lot of advocacy around this across the state, not only from parent groups, but teacher groups. And, she's done a lot of listening across the state. The law does apply to both public and charter schools. And really what we know at this point is sort of the outline of the key components. So the next few slides are going to go through the key components, but we do anticipate the education department guidance still to come. Okay, so here's what we know. In the law, it does define devices. So when they talk about internet-enabled devices, they're referring to smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, or other devices capable of connecting to the internet. That could include AirPods or earbuds, but essentially those are the devices they've listed. It does not include a device that's not capable of connecting to the internet or a device provided by the district. That's an important distinction because our district does provide, we are one-to-one school district. All of our students are issued a laptop that connects to the internet and certainly has the ability to access predominantly any of the software that they would be needing in their classes. They define school days as all instructional and non-instructional time, including but not limited to homeroom, lunch, recess, study halls, and passing time. So that's kind of the new piece, right? Where currently our existing practices really hones in specifically on instructional time, and we've really done a great job at that this year. There are times built into the day currently where students can access their phones. This changes that. So the law now states that anytime, basically, as soon as students walk in the door to when students leave, they can't have access to their phones or any of those other internet-enabled devices. They define school grounds as any building, playing field, or land contained within the real property boundary line of an elementary, intermediate, junior, vocational, high school, or BOCES school. So it really applies to anywhere and any school building, not only on our property, but anywhere that our students might be going for other outside programming. One of the things in the law, it does talk about district policy. I think that sometimes state legislators we're still getting some guidance on this, that discussion we often have at policy, where policy versus plans, policy versus practices. We are believing that the district will have to put together a board policy, but as part of that, we're, a framework of a plan of how to put forth the requirements is something that we've already started to talk a little bit about. So all schools and BOCES must have a policy prohibiting the use of internet-enabled devices. The plans must include one or more methods for on-site storage. So one of the things what does that look like, right? That's one of the discussion topics that we're starting to have. So students can't keep them in their backpacks. They can't keep them in their pockets. So we have to have a place for them to put them. We do have lockers. We do have space. We do have things and areas that students can put things for the duration of the school day. It's something that we feel would be an avenue that we want to explore more of what that looks like. We do know that some schools that may not have lockers or another place to use them are using aspects of their budget to purchase pouches. At this point in some of our very early preliminary discussions, we would like to perhaps go in the direction of utilizing existing lockers because it's something that we have. We don't have to expend more money. And then obviously if we may have to make changes, we can evaluate how that goes throughout the year and then look to make some changes. But that's just one piece that we're looking at this point. And we're just into the conversation a few days. So there are a couple exceptions here to the rule. So a teacher, district, or BOCES can authorize the use of internet-enabled devices if it's necessary for the management of student health care, there is an emergency situation, or it is needed for translation of languages. Those are the only 3 exceptions to the rule. There are certain instances, of course, where I think of student health care, students that might be diabetes comes to mind. Students that have access and needs to an app or something on their phone or a device that measures their blood sugar. That's just one instance. There will likely be others, but these are really very narrow. And, certainly there might be some instances, but they're pretty narrow instances of when devices would be able to be used. And then there's a policy may not prohibit the use of internet-enabled devices if it's included in an IEP or 504 plan as well. The one thing we do know is that districts must develop a plan by August 25th, 2025, and that plan must be clearly visible, communicated in schools and on the district website. So again, I kind of went through that quickly, but that's really the essence of the law. We're still waiting for guidance. Typically, as we know, the state education department will put out FAQ documents, frequently asked questions. They'll give district guidance. And we anticipate that coming, at some point, hopefully soon. So some of the next steps that we're starting to talk about is that there will absolutely be an initial communication to parents on the law. We're working on that now. That will go out shortly. And in that, there'll be provide an opportunity for parents and community to provide an opportunity for some feedback, some real basic information that we can then use to, as we engage in sort of a more collaborative process. So there'll be an initial communication. We're working on that framework of a plan now. The great thing in both our buildings is we've had plans and handbooks. We've had plans. So what can we do with those existing plans to make them apply to the law, and what needs to be changed? So we're starting kind of with what things that we have in place to enhance them to meet the requirements of the law. So that's kind of an opportunity to start developing that, using some of that feedback. We'll be engaging with stakeholders to discuss the feedback on the plan. That's something that we're still looking to determine that process. As you've mentioned, Katie, we do have some really great shared decision-making opportunities that have students, parents, and teachers already on them in both buildings. Because the one thing I don't want to lose sight of is that this isn't just a 7-12. This is a PK through 12 plan. It's a district-wide plan. So we certainly want to hear the voices from not only our elementary school, but our junior, senior high school as well. Policy development will be in here at some point. We've reached out to our policy services to ask them where they're at on perhaps any drafts. We heard that they might not have something until the summer. So we'll know more about that. And then, of course, we'll continue to communicate and provide updates to parents, teachers, and students. As I've talked about, the guidance is forthcoming, and we have to have that plan in place by August 25th per the law. We'd like to have that really, well ahead of that, hopefully, so we can continue to communicate. So our students and teachers and our parents are prepared for the start of the school year. So that's all I have. So
Thank you, John.
questions?
I think a big piece is, or a piece of it is education to our community, teachers, students, parents, the why behind the law, because, I think it's important. We don't want to do it just because it's the law. We want to do it because it's good for kids. And we're already more than partway there. The shift is going to be those in between times. The kids already don't have those devices in the classroom. So we were partway there, and now we have a shift forward. But I think the why behind it's a really important piece. We have okay.
Well, first, I just wanted to say I appreciate the focus and the attention on the taking the opportunity to collect feedback from people after you provide the information and let that help shapes how sort of the future conversations go. So thanks for that. Is it so bell to bell does that not, so I'm thinking of athletic sports practices after school so once the 10th period bell or the 3 o'clock, whatever time.
Yeah, once students leave for the
building.
day, leave this building,
Yeah.
they'll have their phones back. So it does not apply to buses, athletics, or anything of that nature.
Thank you.
Anybody? Okay.
John, this wasn't about the devices one. The Rockefeller recommendation, do you know if that will impact the 25-26 school year, the foundation aid change in the formula?
It not for us. It will for some schools.
Okay.
It did not impact us.
And then the
And
independent.
we were safe harmless. So schools that might not be safe harmless, that poverty and other aspects that they change may impact other districts more.
And the independent assessment estimator of the power for the battery, for the buses, would that come from the manufacturer? I know they have their own. Do they then provide an independent one when we're purchasing the bus? Is it part of the purchasing program, or do we have to do it when we purchase a bus or want to purchase a bus?
So my understanding, I've dug in a little bit on it, is that NYSERDA, who's kind of overseeing all this across the state, will have oversight over that third-party review of the manufacturer's estimate of battery life. So that it's going to be a complete separate third party. It won't be someone, we buy Bluebird buses. It's not going to be, Bluebird's going to have their own rating. It's going to be somebody outside of Bluebird.
Okay. Thank you.
On that topic, it triggered a question that had popped in my mind. Is your conversation about what we're going to do for, say, we have something in Syracuse? There's no way the buses have the range. What is the conversation at the state level in terms of having some gas-powered buses until we have the battery life to do trips like that?
Yeah, so that's been a huge topic of conversation because the infrastructure across the state is just, it's inadequate. It's not ready. They don't have enough level 3 charging. I mean, you can see level 2s popping up. You just drive around. You can see them in hotels that are local. You can see them in other areas. They have them at some rest stops, but they don't have enough, and they don't have level 3, which is fast charging. And especially for a trip of that duration, you would want level 3. You don't want students sitting on a bus for 2 hours waiting for the bus to charge. So I think what they're hearing us, and you can see with some of the recent recommendations or the law allowing 48 more months of delays for purchasing electric vehicles. And I think the good thing is a reminder that we have to have them all turned over by 2035. I think that will be delayed further. So what we've expressed is in our advocacy, there are routes that are very local. Very local. We have our electric buses out every single day, and there's been no concerns or issues, but it's staying fairly local as we learn more about its capabilities. So we've emphasized, continuing to do studies of routes, right? And that's important because routes change all the time. But prioritize, maybe change the law to prioritize. If you have, say, 60% of your routes are under 50 miles, those are what you should be working towards, and have a percentage that you could still keep as gas. So that's kind of been our talking points with we're looking for some, flexibility in the law, really, because unless something drastic happens, and it could, but haven't seen it yet, it's going to be a challenge for some of those long trips.
Thank you. Anybody else? The next section on our agenda is our committee reports, and the first committee report is the Audit and Finance Committee report with Mario Fasulo, who is the chair of that committee.
Thanks, Katie. We reviewed the Treasury report for March 2025. State aid receipts in the amount of $584,000 were received for expense aid and Smart Schools bond funding. As of the end of March 31st, the district has spent about 94% of the original budget, and we have receipts that have recorded in excess of 100% of the budget amount. And that will happen because of the way payroll cycles stack up at times, will cause us to exceed that for a little bit. Both expenditures and receipts are consistent with previous years. There was nothing really noteworthy on the claim auditors report for March. Scott Royster, did someone say his name? Because I can't. Okay. Scott was by. Our independent auditor, he gave us a plan for the 24-25 school year. We went over the engagement letter, which talked about the time frame for the in-house field work and anticipated finish date of sometime in September. Also, he gave Bonnie and her office a list of information documents that they need for the examination. The only change from the previous years is that we will no longer be required to complete a single audit of federal funds because we are no longer receiving federal funds that hit the threshold that triggers such an audit. We also discussed the terms of the unaffiliated contract. And the superintendent, John, is going to bring them up for recommendation in June. Right? And that was it. It was not, no, nothing crazy.
Thank you, Mario. We as a board do a lot of work in committees, which are meetings that are open to the public. We have, I think, six different committees. And so the minutes are a way of letting the board members that don't sit on those committees know what's going on, and the public who didn't attend the meeting to know what's going on. So it's a structure that's worked well for us, and we're able to be, get a lot of detailed work done at these committees during the committee meetings. The next committee meeting report is the Board Development Committee, and I'm the chair of that committee. So I will take care of those minutes, which are, the minutes are brief, but the meetings have been very detailed. John made reference to the Board Development Committee. The bulk of our work this school year has been on the student board member. And the most recent meeting, which was April 8th, we spent time reviewing, discussing, and revising the student board member handbook, which we've been working on throughout the course of the year. And we're close to finalizing the document. Sarah, it says we'll make additions, has been working on additions. We will revise and review that and have the final draft completed very soon. We also reviewed the student board member reference guide, which we have created this year, and we identified a need to create a student board member communication protocol document and update the board member, our own board member communication protocol. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was a lot of work in that meeting. So we're really excited about having our student board members join us, and excited about the work of getting them onboarded and having mentorship for successful time with us. The next, does anybody have any questions? The next policy report is the next committee report is the policy report, and that's given by Mary Ann McKenzie, who is the chair of that committee.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Okay, so this evening, well, first, let me just say that the policy committee met just last week on May 5th, and the minutes from that meeting are attached to the agenda tonight for your review. There are 7 policies moving to second read tonight, each of which we discussed at the April board meeting. But right out the gate, I'll just point out that under second read is policy 3421, which is Title IX and sex discrimination. And recall that the policy that we're moving forward here is aligned with the 2020 federal regulations, as we were required to revert back to the 2020 regs from the 2024 regulations. And in doing so, we also we resorbed the information related to married and pregnant students, which had been moved to a standalone policy that has now been absorbed back into this Title IX and sex discrimination policy that's on second read tonight. Therefore, the standalone policy for married and pregnant students is being retired this evening at the same time. That probably was clear as mud, but go ahead.
Just one, it was reabsorbed back to the equal education opportunities.
I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you. Sorry, that's correct. 7554 is also in second read this evening. Thanks, John. Equal educational opportunities, and the portion related to married and pregnant students was resorbed back into the policy that's in second read this evening. Forgive me. Okay. In addition, this evening we have got 3 policies moving forward to first read tonight. And let me just flip my screen here. 2 of them came before the policy committee by way of Erie One BOCES updates. And the first one is 1210. And first thing you may notice, the title of this policy has changed. It was previously entitled Board Members Nomination and Election. and is now a board member's nomination, election, and student ex officio, because this policy now has incorporated new language that's related to having a student board membership. And so this policy is right in line with what John updated us on earlier. And Erie One BOCES had provided us with policy language related to the student board member. We brought that in, and then NYSBA the New York State School Board Association came out with their own sample policy on student ex officio board membership. And the policy committee thought that there was some good language in there that we also filtered into this version that you see here tonight. The NYSBA sample policy had language that gave some additional context and detail that seemed helpful. So, and the other piece, and this overlaps with what John was talking about earlier, and aside, there were many different ways, different kinds of processes that could lead to and help a student board member get onto the school board. And the policy outlines all those different avenues and then directs the readers to the website to learn how Lake George is currently, the current process that we're using. So that's that for policy 1210. The next policy also came to us through Erie One BOCES, and this is 5661, the wellness policy. And Erie One, this revision is a result of Erie One BOCES did a review of multiple wellness using multiple wellness policy assessment tools, and they sent revised policy with, I'll just bullet point some of the changes that they were recommending. Expanded membership of the district wellness committee to include representatives from specialized instructional support personnel and community health professionals. There are references to building level wellness teams was also added. Language was added related to meal modifications for students with disabilities, qualified nutrition professionals managing school meals, and students with unpaid meal charges, language to make sure that they are not treated differently or shamed as a result. Additional strategies were added to promote student health and combat childhood obesity. So what happened is Erie One BOCES sent those revisions to the district. They were reviewed by the Wellness Committee, which is housed within the district level Health, Wellness, Nutrition, Safety, and Workplace Violence Committee. And that committee filtered these suggested revisions into our current wellness policy. And then once that review process was done, they sent it on to the policy committee where we reviewed it, and there were no further suggested revisions. And so that's what you're looking at tonight. The third policy that's up for first read is 5160, and this is a new policy developed at the district level, and it's called Online Fundraising Student-Sponsored Activity. And this policy was developed basically due to the recognition that online student-sponsored fundraising is increasingly used to raise funds for programs, and this policy is meant to guide the use of these fundraising activities and set the parameters for their implementation. And yes, this policy was, we worked, there were lots of good conversations and feedback and collaboration, and a lot of revisions occurred at the district level. So thanks for all the effort with that. And anyway, it's making its debut this evening. First read, 5160. And then in addition to that, just a couple other things from our policy meeting last week. We reviewed, there are 4 policies that we review annually, 3 by requirement, 1 by best practice, and we try to aim for them to arrive at the July reorg meeting. And so we have reviewed those 4 policies. So 52, district investments and purchasing, both of those policies were reviewed first in Audit and Finance Committee with no suggested revisions. They came to the Policy Committee, no suggested revisions. You'll see them in July on the agenda then. And then Title I Parent and Family Engagement Policy requires multi-stakeholder review at the district level. That has occurred. There were no suggested revisions. Came to the Policy Committee, no suggested revisions, and you'll see that in July as well with updated date of reviews. And then the other one is the Code of Ethics for board members and all district personnel. And we reviewed that in the Policy Committee with no suggested revisions. And so all 4 of those will receive an updated date of review at the reorganization meeting. And then we reviewed another policy, which was searches and interrogations of students. And we had really good dynamic discussion around that. And we're still reviewing that. So that'll be present in the future. Any questions?
Thank you, Mary Ann. The next item on the agenda is public comment, and it's the first of 2 public comment periods. This first one is for items that are on the agenda, and Sarah has indicated to me that there is not anybody on the sign-up sheet. We do sign-up sheets so that we can keep the public comment period organized, and we can have folks' names and contact information so that we can get back to you. So if you didn't have the opportunity to sign up, you still have the opportunity to participate in public comment. So if there's anybody who didn't have a chance to sign up that has a comment, you're welcome to do that. I don't see any folks showing that. And just if anybody is attending virtually, if you do have a comment or question, you can email the board at boe@lkgeorge.org. The superintendent and board members will receive your email, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. The next item is our school business consent agenda. And we here at Lake George use a consent agenda. We operate with a consent agenda to be efficient with our meetings. We're creating more space for presentations and discussion and follow-up questions. A lot of work and time goes into the consent agendas by our district administrators, faculty, as well as the board. Many items that are recommendations from our committee work and discussion that I talked about a little while ago. Those meetings, again, they're open to the public, and the board does a lot of reading in preparation for these board meetings, and we have the opportunity to seek clarification on any items. So while it happens fast, it represents a lot of work, and a consent agenda, any item can be pulled at any point to be a standalone item if there are questions or discussions needed before it's moved for approval. So with that, we will go into our consent agenda. I haven't said that in a little while, so I wanted to.
As recommended by the superintendent, be resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the school business consent agenda items A through I. In brief summary, item A is motion for the minutes for the last 3 meetings. Item B is a motion to approve the CSE recommendations. Item C and D are reference to treasurers and claims auditor report. Item E is the motion for policies moving to second read. Item F is a motion to rescind the policy 7555. Item G is a motion to declare the May surplus list to be surplus property and of no value to the school district as listed. Item H is a motion to accept a gift in the amount of $500 from the ExxonMobil Educational Alliance Program that is utilized in elementary math and or science. And item I is a motion to authorize a budget transfer of $132,500 by increasing the contractual plant operations budget code from health insurance appropriations.
Do you have any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item is faculty staff recognitions, and we have the faculty staff resignation consent agenda retirements.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District for the purposes of retirement, hereby accepts the resignations of Tammy Darby, science teacher, effective June 30th, and Todd Wood, bus driver, effective June 30th.
Do
Second.
we have any questions, any discussion? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you for your commitment to us, and we appreciate it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the faculty staff consent agenda.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby approves the faculty staff consent agenda items A through F. Item A is a motion to approve the appointment of Stephanie Speronis to a 4-year probationary appointment as special education teacher. Item B is a motion to approve the appointment of Victoria Breslin to a 4-year probationary appointment as special education teacher. Item C is a motion to approve the appointment of Patrick Conway to a 4-year probationary appointment as a physical education teacher. Item D is a motion to appoint Alexander Miller to a 4-year probationary appointment as an instrumental music teacher. Item E is a motion to approve the appointment of Jacqueline Milhero to a 4-year probationary appointment as a teaching assistant. And item F is a motion to approve the appointment of Kayla Combs to a 4-year probationary appointment as a teaching assistant.
Second.
Thank you for some of those faces are here with us tonight. Some of you guys are with us tonight. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Yeah.
Right.
Katie, we do have a few of our board members. I know you're about to vote, but Stephanie's online. She's currently finishing student teaching. There she is. And we have Alex is here as well. Patrick is here as well. And Tori is here as well. So
It's wonderful to have you here. And thank you for tuning in remotely. We appreciate it.
Congratulations.
So
Yeah.
all in favor? Let's vote first, right? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Congratulations, yeah. So the next item on our agenda is the Lake George CSEA Transportation Unit 901400 contract for the 2025 through 2028.
As recommended by the superintendent, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby ratifies the professional agreement between the Lake George Central School District and the Lake George CSEA Transportation Unit covering the periods from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028.
Do you have any questions, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is Board of Education comments and discussion. Anybody have any items this evening for that section? Some, every so often we don't. Usually we do, but tonight we don't. We had a lot of nice discussions, during some of the reports and questions. So if you think of something later, you can save it for June, right? The next item on the agenda is the second public comment period for this board meeting. Do we have anyone for that? I don't think there was anybody signed up for that. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to, we have a proposed executive session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lake George Central School District hereby proposes entering into an executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person and contracts, right? Yeah, the part isn't on there. So yes, do I have a motion? Second. Any questions? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. and we do not anticipate taking any action in executive session or after executive session. So thank you again for being here. And that's it.